Welcome to Lucas Oil on the Edge. This week coming to you from Oshkosh, Wisconsin for some short course off-road racing. That's right, these are the blue-collar guys that are looking to get to the Pro 4x4 Series. Let's find out who's going to step up tonight on the Edge.
Got it tacked up, and if you get too close, you're getting cracked up. Stone cold when I roll, coming out of the hole. Get back, cause I'm out of control. I'm on the edge.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lucas Oil on the Edge. As you can see, the fans are jacked up and ready for a great race here. It is the Lucas Oil Formula 4x4 and Stock Truck Race presented by General Tire. And, of course, we are in Wisconsin. Here's a look at some of the action you'll see here today. Ken Stout and Brian Olson calling all the shots for you. It'll be four-wheel drive, and the stock truck is two-wheel drive, but these guys will hang it out on the edge. With more on today's event, let's go down to Ted Bronson.
Truly living on the edge here. We've got off-road racing Wisconsin style. Welcome to Oshkosh Speed Zone Raceway in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It is a beautiful late afternoon getting into the evening. Time for some serious off-road racing. Tonight we bring you two great sportsman classes. Now we call them sportsmen, but they definitely race like pros. The Formula 4x4s and the stock trucks. These guys work all week at their regular jobs, and every weekend they find time to race. And I'll tell you something, they put their heart and soul into these vehicles. Now, the track here at Oshkosh, it's tight, it's pretty fast, it's pretty loose on the outside with a blue groove. On the inside, it's a completely different track. You get into that rhythm section and you never know what's going to happen. You can expect one thing though, a lot of rubbing, possibly some flipping. Some guys are going to be serious about this race. They get pretty fired up. It's time to do it right now.
All right, Brian, let's talk about the Formula 4x4s.
Well, that's one of the categories that we will feature here today. Four-wheel drive. It's the SUV category. Average a little bit over 400 horsepower. The weight-to-power ratio, 3.5, 4 pounds. Big tires, 33 by 12 5s. We get set to go, side by side, on the start here, Ken.
Of course, the big brother for this class, as we take a look at the competitors, would be the Pro 4 category. They have a lot of suspension. These guys are not allowed to have all that suspension. That's probably the biggest difference you'll see. Obviously, 800 horsepower and the big dogs, 400 horsepower here, but that suspension is very tough on the drivers inside. They just don't have all that wheel travel. Consequently, they don't have all the shock movement to absorb whenever they land, just like that. And you can see the rebound is very, very rough on the trucks.
And not only do you get in a situation of the lack of rebound here, if you will, you got a configuration of the track, as Ted earlier talked about, where you start over these whoop-to-do sections and so forth. You start at an oval, we got a problem right off the bat, Ken.
Yeah, Kurt Zanevsky already in trouble, goes down into the infield. By the way, it was Chris Keiko who got off to that great start. Man, he just checked right out.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And once again, if you look at the configuration of the track here, not only are you dealing with the whoop-de-doos, as I mentioned a moment ago, and as we also heard from Ted, but this is an oval track. It's converted for this purpose. So while you're going on the whoop-de-doos, there's a lot of things going on. You get close to the driver in front of you, you're eating a lot of trash, a lot of mud, Ken.
Another thing about this suspension, typically the Pro trucks will have a much wider track width than these guys have. They have a very high center of gravity, so if these guys catch a rut or an edge, it doesn't take much for them to go over on their lid. A big push right there, but really the truck turned in nice and is handling pretty good.
You're exactly right, Ken. They did a great job right there, and you can see as they make the jumps right there and go right in this curve that these trucks are a little bit more narrow in the wheelbase overall.
Well, what you're looking at right now is a 1999 Blazer that just this week was turned into a pickup, and this is owned, built, and driven by this man right here, Jim Ritterbush. He's second in points right now in Formula 4x4. Now, Jim, the people at home want to know, okay, what's the difference between Formula 4x4 and Pro 4x4? I know the difference because they spend a lot more money on some really specific parts, but you are able to do this racing. Why?
Well, this racing is affordable racing. You get into Pro 4, them guys, they need all their own parts. When we come out here and run, we can send a guy to a parts store and get our parts, or we can send a guy to a junkyard, bring them back, and we seal it up, recondition it, whatever it takes, and then we hit the track. That's the joy of this whole class.
Well, I'll tell you what, this guy works 40 hours a week at his full-time job, 40 hours a week keeping this thing together just to race. He's been with World Series of Off-Road Racing since the inception in 2005. You wouldn't do anything else, would you?
Oh, this is life. I would love to stay and do this as a full-time job, 80 hours a week.
I'll have to get you in a Pro 2 maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
No way, you're 4x4 all the way, aren't you?
I'm switching next year to Ultra 4x4, which is a new truck in World Series of Off-Road Racing. We're about halfway through building one right now.
All right, thanks, Jim. Good luck, buddy.
Thanks a lot.
Stay with us. When we come back, we'll continue on with the Formula 4x4 category. This On the Edge telecast is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, the official tire of living on the edge. And by Herculiner truck bed liners, when the tough come easy. We're back here with Lucas Oil on the Edge watching the Formula 4x4, and eventually we'll bring the stock trucks out here as well, but it was Chris Keiko who got off to a great start. Now up in second place is 433 Tim Moeller, and Moeller trying to close the gap to see if he can bring some competition and some heat to Keiko.
Keiko actually got off to a great start, and for whatever reason, whether he lost track at some point in time, it just looks like the truck, Ken, for some reason is slowing down. Maybe a mechanical issue under the hood, whatever. But in this case, Moeller is taking advantage of it here, just beyond the halfway point.
Setup is absolutely critical. Moeller's been doing this for a long time as well, so he's used to the pressure. And as you can see, man, he's closed right up on him. This is big contact racing, too. If he needs some room, he's not afraid to put a bumper on him. But actually, the exit into that turn right there, he made a big mistake and went wide.
You're exactly right. And I got to tell you, it proved to me right there that Keiko's truck, there's nothing wrong with it. Even though it does appear to be throwing a little bit of smoke out, he had plenty of steam coming out of that corner.
Well, you can really see the front end wash out on that thing when it lands. Rotated it nice right there, though. Kicked the back end out, the front end pulled it straight. And a great battle here for fifth between Jim Ritterbusch and Dave Maya. And, of course, we spoke to Jim a little bit earlier as we go back to the leaders. Keiko trying to hang on here, and then the 433, Tim Moeller, trying to close it up. Still a lot of smoke. You mentioned it before, Brian. Possibly a transmission, maybe a rear seal, could be an axle seal. I mean, just all kind of things go wrong because they stress these things so hard.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of weak links when it comes to these things, and there are a fair amount of parts. Differential, transmission, of course the engine, and as you mentioned, from the coolant on down the line, that basically are lubricated items, so it could be coming from anywhere. When it's blue, though, for the most part, the smoke is pretty much an oil situation. In any case, it's a great matchup right here. And you got a great, there's a couple different body styles here. You got, there's a little nut right there.
Yeah, something's going on right there with Keiko's truck. It looks like it just loses a little straightaway power, a little straightaway speed. It's turning in so much better than Moeller's truck, but it doesn't look like it has the straightaway speed that Moeller has.
We watch it when they get out in the open. That 402 truck seems to be the better of the two. And it happens right there as Keiko gets out in the open, Ken, and he's wide open, just leaving the back.
Come on back, and we'll have an exciting finish, I promise. Welcome back to Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the Lucas Oil Formula 4x4 and Stock Truck Race presented by General Tire. Right now, we're going to go down to our Lucas Oil Product Spotlight.
Right now, you're looking at the Formula 4x4 truck of Kurt Zanevsky. Kurt in the points chase this year, and this thing's got a lot of power. And of course, he uses Lucas Oil products, as you can see right here on the hood. But everybody knows that you can't use just oil. Of course, oil is the lifeline of your system, but you also might want to have an oil stabilizer. What does a stabilizer do? Well, it helps eliminate dry starts, which is the #1 cause of engine wear. Also reduces noise, friction, gives you more horsepower, more speed, more power. That's what you want when you're going around this short track here in Oshkosh. Now, it's not just for racing, it's also for any vehicle that you have on the road as well. Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world.
And we'll go back to the Formula 4x4 category race here. This is the battle for second place. You can see Keiko again has stretched out the lead. The battle now for second place between Moeller and DeMay.
And you can look at the front end of that second place truck as well. It's taken a pretty good hit somewhere down the line. There was a time when he made a bump and gave a bump to Keiko a little bit earlier on, but I don't think it left that much damage, Ken.
Yeah, he could have gone over a jump and landed on the back of Keiko and kind of picked the front of that hood up a little bit. possibly got hooked up just a little bit and then got out of the throttle and lost a lot of real estate.
Pretty good battle for first, second, and third right there as the Jeep tries to make the move in the whoop-de-doo section. But again, Keiko, when he gets beyond the slow part of the racetrack, if you will, is wide open and just pretty much daylights everybody here.
You can see where that track is starting to slick off. Blue Group down there at the bottom is very slippery down there. A lot of times they'll go up and try to chase the cushion, but it's such a shorter way around to stay at the bottom of the turn.
That's absolutely right, Ken. And here's the situation. Look at this part of the racetrack, and you're on a portion of the oval track normally. When you get into the whoop-de-doos here, you can even see right directly in the middle of the screen here, there's some mud involved. So it's more mud, I think, than it is clay, if you will. And a lot of these drivers, again, Keiko, a little bit behind right here when he gets to the slow part of the track, and a move made right there on the last lap. Can't move for second.
Yeah, Moeller went up high, caught one of those jumps. That upset the truck on this final lap, and that opened up the door for DeMay to take over second place. DeMay trying to close the gap on Keiko, who has led this thing since the drop of the green flag.
Oh, he goes a little wide.
We told you how slippery it was there, and as you can see, DeMay gets way out of shape, as does Moeller.
Oh, this is a great finish right here, man. The Jeep, though, man, the back end slid right out from underneath. He's trying to make that move, could not get the job done. Here's your final results.
So congratulations to Chris Keiko, who hung on throughout all the pressure, and DeMay hung on for second. Moeller will round out the top three.
Don't go anywhere. One of the most exciting things you've ever seen on the edge coming up next.
Welcome back, as now we'll go to the stock truck category. A little different here, Brian.
That's right. It's two-wheel drive standard trucks. 370 cubic inch maximum. Restrictor plate cuts the volume of fuel. And over 4,000 pound minimum weight, Ken, with a stock chassis underneath of you.
Here's a look at how they'll line up the top 13 out there on the oval track. Mick Bing will lead them to the starting line, of course. He's sitting on the pole, and then Danny Beauchamp will be right alongside. Things can get pretty rough pretty early on. You mentioned it before, though, a very heavy truck, 4,100 pounds. You know, even the pros, Pro 2, Pro 4, the minimum weight is 4,000 pounds, and those guys have 800-plus horsepower.
Yeah, it's going to be much slower here overall. And it's kind of crazy. It's not a two-wheel drive.
That is off-road racing right there, man. Everybody stand on the gas and go.
Hey, we're going to mix it up right here because we got 13 units. Again, it's two-wheel drive, so you're only going to see tire spin off the back. But here's where it's going to get really crazy right here, Ken.
And Beauchamp never even turned in, man. He pushed Bing about as high and wide as you can. And look at the run that he got. So Beauchamp way out in first place as everybody else battles.
And you know what? At one point in time, they were 5 wide.
Oh.
They were 5 wide. They're 4 wide right here, man. This is crazy. I love it.
Patience, my friend. They actually call it a rhythm section, and that's why. If you drive it too hard or you get out of that rhythm, and you can see they've wet this track down a little bit, it'll put you up on the front bumper, and you can endo one of these things. They're spinning them around in the back, though.
When you throw a little bit of water on this hard clay, which was already what we would call dry slick on an oval track day, Ken, it just makes it that much slicker. You're going to watch a lot, including some parts falling off each truck.
Here's a good look at Bing's truck. The passenger side door completely crushed in. Right behind him, Van Richtel. That is a battle for second place, and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all of them right there.
One thing you couldn't do with this sport is call it non-contact, my friend, because between the parts that we've seen fall off and the doors that are crushed in, it's all about contact here, baby.
Man, look at those things launch. Again, you know, they just don't have a whole lot of suspension. Maximum suspension travel for these guys, 12 inches, where, you know, some of the big trucks, you see upwards of 18 to 23 inches of travel.
Oh, big spin right there. That's Alan Connitzer's machine. Now he tries to bring it back. I think he's got steering problems here, my friend.
Al Conitzer has been racing for a long, long time. A very seasoned veteran. Actually, Rhonda Conitzer, the entire Conitzer family, has been racing up here in the Wisconsin area for generations.
Not only that group from there, but I tell you, they come from the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, in our other categories as far away as Connecticut. But they're gathered here this weekend in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. This is nothing but fun.
Another spinner back there. It's very, very tricky with these two-wheel drive trucks. You don't have that front-wheel drive to pull the front end out, so you loop it too hard, man, you're going around.
First and second look almost caught up for right now, but here's your battle for third. Demeny and Metz doing battle here, and one of the drivers, Demeny, from near the back of the pack has made some great moves to move up to third right here.
Yeah, but Metz is driving right around the outside. Dimony in there with that passenger door completely gone, and Metz took the outside, got a lot of momentum, a lot of grip coming off that turn, and he's going to get the spot.
Yeah, and he takes it away, and there's a great matchup. We talked about these corners. They're taking them just a little bit more gingerly right here, if you will, Ken, because it's a lot slicker than what it is out there in the whoop-de-doo section. Oh!
Just got turned sideways a little bit. Don Dimony gets turned all the way around. He was in midair. A little bump on the back bumper turns you sideways when you land, and then that's it. It's over.
And Dimony goes from fighting for third to fighting for about 8th or 9th spot here. Not exactly sure where he's at, but he has moved way back in the pack from being up to the 3rd spot overall.
All right, I'm standing next to last year's points champion in stock truck. This year he's leading again in points, Scott Beauchamp. Now you're the Rookie of the Year in 2004. Lots of racing experience. Now let's talk about the stock truck class. This is basically the class that if you have a little bit of money and some racing knowledge and a lot of desire, you can get into one of these trucks for a pretty good penny, not too much, and you can have a lot of fun, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely affordable for any person that really wanted to get into the sport. I mean, with the contingency sponsors and the series itself, the payout that we do get, it's really affordable if you can just make the investment and then get out there and start winning.
Now let's talk about this track. Now you raced Bark River, you've raced Crandon, the big, long, heavy, fast tracks. This is a more technical track. It seems to me it'd be a little tougher for a big, bad truck like this on one of these tracks.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder for us. I mean, the theory is slower is faster in some situations like this. I mean, the track is so rough, and with limited suspension, with being a stock truck class, you know, we can't just pound through everything like everybody else does. I mean, they're trying to, and they're breaking stuff. So, you know, again, faster, slower, and we just made it work last night, and we got the points lead at the moment, so we're happy.
Scott Beauchamp, 2007 points champ, leading the points right now. He's proof he's always going to be off-road, right?
Yes, we are.
Scott has been doing it for a long time. Very talented driver. Come on back. Final laps. This On the Edge telecast has been brought to you by Lucas Oil Products. Made in America. Sold to the world. General Tire, the official tire of living on the edge. And by Herculiner Truck Bed Liners. When they're tough, come easy. Welcome back to Lucas Oil On the Edge. We're in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and these are the final laps of the stock truck race. It has been Danny Beauchamp who's been out front the entire time, but now he's about to get some heat from Scott Beauchamp, and of course, a reigning champ already taking a different line.
Yeah, and we heard from him just a few moments ago, and for whatever reason, been pretty quiet through about 3/4 of the race here, and now making a run for it as we got battles all over the track for position here.
That's Eric Ruppel down there in the white truck. Eric's another guy that's been in this category for a long time. He's going to get underneath Bing. Bing hanging it out right there, looking pretty sweet.
And Bing, who's stuck in that 2nd place spot for the longest time now, is in a battle for somewhere around the 4th or 5th position, Ken.
1st and 2nd place there checking out, though, and so far, Danny able to hang on and hold off the pressure from Scott.
Oh, he brings it up on 2 wheels. He'll lose some momentum right there.
Look at the nice, smooth rhythm section and a whole different line, trying to get that nose underneath him. Now he's got to get some grip off the bottom of that turn. Scott trying to take the lead.
It's a drag race between the Beauchamp boys. It just happens to be in a corner right here, baby. This is good racing.
Danny should have a little more momentum, maybe too much. He flagged the tail end of that thing, lost some grip, had to check it up. That opens up the door for Scott, and Scott gets the lead.
Danny Beauchamp had this race all wrapped up early on, but now he has got problems with his cousin as he's made the move to the front of the pack, and they make right through the whoop-de-doos. And the guy who said he'd rather run on the bigger tracks said you really got to kind of watch these smaller ones. Looks like he's a master right now, Ken.
Well, you have to go back to the experience that Scott has. Scott ran at a track that they ran years ago in Antigo, Wisconsin, which started off on an oval and had an infield much like the one that they're running right now. So everything that he learned from those years ago obviously is applied now.
And he's done whatever he's had to do to make his way to the front. Obviously, he's not without his fair share of battle scars in the body of that black Chevrolet.
Boy, he is just absolutely checked out now. Very calm, looks like the truck with a bit of a push right there. You really have to show a lot of patience as you come off of that front straightaway into turn number 1 and then make almost a 180-degree turn.
When you get yourself out in the wide open like this, until you start running into back markers like he's about to do right here, And when he gets there, they're going to make it a little bit of a problem. There's your third place truck, Eric Ruppel, in the Phil's Incorporated machine.
Yeah, and he's closing the gap up as you watch your leader. Danny's going to have to be careful because Eric's another one, man. He's just been out here a long time, and he could have to deal with a very tough driver back there that's won second place.
Take a look at those sweepers underneath the truck, Ken. They not only deter the mud from going to the rear tires, but they keep the mud from building up under the frame. Because as we've talked about before, it can build up and add 100, maybe 200 pounds to these trucks.
Yeah, if they get on a really sloppy course, it is not out of the question to pick up so much mud. It takes all the suspension out of these things as it just squashes them down from the weight.
And when you put yourself in a position where you're over 4,000 pounds to begin with, the balance of your truck is very critical, particularly in a two-wheel drive category.
Kind of protects the back part of the truck as well, so from any major rocks the front tires might kick up. You might not believe anything like that would cause any real damage, but boy, I'll tell you, they'll kick some rocks around big time.
And not only that, the more your front wheels will kick toward the back tires, the quicker you're going to fill the grooves of the tires. Suddenly they go from being a groove tire as the white flag comes out to being a slick tire.
One last lap for Scott Beauchamp. Can he hang on here? He's driven a perfect race at this point, came from the back of the pack, worked his way up, passed his cousin Danny, and has a solid lead, but he is dealing with back markers.
Yeah, he continues to do that. He's made a move on a couple back markers here so far, but as you said, Ken, he's probably drove the smartest race of anybody here so far, and as a result, he's headed toward that checkered flag here.
One last time out of that tight left-hander. It's kind of slick. Just squeeze on the throttle, keep it hooked up as much as possible, drive it through the oval, and then cross the stripe, and it will be Scott Beauchamp, your winner. Congratulations.
Scott will round it out with that first place trophy along with his cousin Danny in second. Eric Ruppel third. Bing and Metz round out the top five.
Mr. Beauchamp, just keeping it going, aren't you? What a season you're having. Track seems right in your favor.
Yeah, I like I mentioned earlier to somebody else, I like the short tracks. I mean, it works real well for me. Just had to take my time, drive smooth, and slowly worked our way to the front. My spotter didn't even tell me I was in the lead, but I figured I was. I didn't know for sure, but we made it work.
And it's also got to feel pretty good that you stayed just ahead of your cousin, yeah?
Yeah, I caught up to Dan, and I'm like, I couldn't remember if he actually had spun out in the first little carnage or if he was actually in front of me, and I'm like, well, I got to pass him no matter what. So made an effort and got around him.
Excellent job and congratulations. Remember to log on to newwavetv.com to find out where the OTE gang and the Terry's RV are headed to next. Remember, you're not living unless you're on the edge.